rather than just hearing my voice talk about what's happening. We have some videos of community members. If the sound doesn't play, then we'll have to improvise. But in this opening slide, we ask, how do we build a more resilient Houston and a more equitable Houston? And Living Paradigm has been doing that for 8+ years, and I've been part of Living Paradigm for 5 years. And what we've come to believe is that housing is a technology through which people experience the world, their communities, their families, and even themselves, and also how they experience nature through their home. So before Harvey, this is a before Harvey slide of students that we work with. We bring the Prairie View School of Architecture students into the northwest community in Houston called Independence Heights or Studewood. And they do mapping and they do different asset mapping exercises and design housing. And this is our slide for after Harvey. When Harvey hit, we realized that a lot of homes were basically ejecting all of their materials onto the side of the street, and we knew that there would be, once people were finished mucking and gutting, there would be a period of time when they would need materials. So initially we thought this would be a great opportunity to raise money to find materials that were resilient, that were mold resistant, that were less toxic possibly than the materials that had been in the homes before. So we did raise some money, some funding, and we worked with our partners at the Reeves Warehouse to provide materials that were non-toxic or formaldehyde-free, things of that nature, to homeowners. But we found that there was a big gap. And luckily we found a way to fill that gap. So the gap is in labor, basically, and a lot of the homeowners we couldn't just drop off formaldehyde-free materials and expect homeowners to be able to install them. So we've been working with local agencies and volunteers from all over the country to really walk with homeowners through their process. So this is what it looks like when you first get to a Harvey home that's been impacted by flooding. Just by a show of hands, who in here has been in a post-Harvey home? Okay, so you guys recognize this then. And then this is the more intimate, private space of our lives that has really been invaded by this disaster. And this is our case study home, and it was disheartening. I could barely breathe when I went to this home to do the first assessment. And the homeowners, all senior citizens, one of whom was already having home health care, they were just living here. And then another case study home that we visited, the homeowners were living in a tent under the carport until very recently. So some of the trouble that arises when we're trying to put back drywall is that we find that there's this thing called deferred maintenance, and a lot of the electrical is unsafe, and so it has to be addressed first. And then of course we're doing the moisture meter readings. And then there's a lot of interior studs that have been, over time, you can see, this didn't just happen because of Harvey. This happened every time there was a flood for the past 50, 100 years. This house has been slowly deteriorating because of the environmental impact that it's been weathering. But we took 5 minutes. Really? You don't get to know about any of that. Okay, so this is our homeowner, and I wanted you to hear from her.
Since we've been in this house, I can remember Katrina, Ike, Carl, way back. Well, we had some before we moved out of the old house in the back, but it got to the second step back there. It never got us in there, and they informed me that it was because of the bricks. We're on a cement slab, and it's below the street level. So the water don't have anywhere else to go but to come up in the house. And I've had foundation work, but it didn't seem to take care of the situation, so the water still comes in. No earthly person can be sure we may not have another flood in the next 40 years. And should that be the case, I might not even be around to be aware of it. But I don't think we'll have to endure another situation as catastrophic as the one we just had.
Okay, so that speaks to the mindset of some of the people that were impacted, and since we don't have time, I just would encourage you to go to our Facebook page or our website to see the rest of the videos of her speaking. And I wanted to show you, since we have some scientists in the room, go through this really quickly. I wanted to show you an environmental issue. So really quickly, just to wrap up, this red dot is where her house sits, and technically it's in the Buffalo Bayou watershed, but it's right at the bottom of the Hunting Bayou watershed, and poverty level is 52% below the poverty line. And then you can see here it's not inside of a floodplain, currently mapped floodplain. And it's next to this training switching station, which is in yellow. And I wanted to sort of highlight that in relationship to her house and ask you, where does the water go? And then I'll just play this drone footage of that switching station. And I think the scale is hard to understand, but they demolished a big chunk of this neighborhood back in the 60s, I think it was, to build this. So obviously we have an urban environmental issue here that's exacerbating flooding beyond the typical conversation about what's happening in the floodplain zones. But amazingly enough, the original home that her father built in the backyard when she was 7 is raised 2 feet, and it doesn't flood. So that is a positive outcome to know for future building. So I think I'll have to stop here. I was going to show you some landscaping, resilient landscaping efforts that we did with Avenue CDC in partnership with them. But again, please go to our website and Facebook page to watch these other videos and see if you can. We created a landscaping plan with improved drainage and native pollinators and